So let's continue on our path here in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards for 1999. And the Observer Awards are pretty well respected within the industry. Jeff comes in 10th overall for most outstanding wrestler in the world, even gets a first place vote. Chris Benoit did win that. Jeff comes in 4th for most improved, 2nd for best high flyer behind Juventud, 7th for most underrated. The Swanton Bomb is named the 2nd best finisher in wrestling, and he places top 10 for fans' choice. Were you cognizant of how quickly Jeff was rising the ranks in the public eye at this time for wrestling fans?
I certainly realized, especially via live audiences, how beloved and how popular it was. And I know together we were doing real well, but like on his own, even like those awards, like I wasn't aware of that, as I'd said in the past. Like I wasn't an observer guy, and once I started working with WWE on a full-time basis, I mean, it was like go nonstop. I really I don't even think I followed any of the newsletters that closely. But I know, especially looking back now, and it's so impactful in this day and age in 2022, Dave Meltzer has always been the leader at the forefront of the newsletters. So those polls that he's done always they hold a lot of weight in a lot of people's minds and hearts. So for Jeff to have ranked that high, I was not aware of that until you told me that information. So that is very cool. But Jeff was killing it, and he's a very, very special athlete, a very, very unique and special athlete that is the definition of having the it factor.
I've gotten to know you pretty well, and I know that you're a very selfless person, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask this. Was there a little bit of competitive drive that was brought out from you at that time when you see how over your brother's game? You guys are both massively over as a unit, but Jeff is clearly recognized here as the guy that could be, we talked about in episode 1, Shawn Michaels caliber performer. Did that bring out a little something in you personally?
You know, I think in all honesty, being absolutely transparent, back in those days, there were times where I had that realization, and it probably drove me to work harder or be better or be different in other ways. And I would probably, back in those days, let it get to me time to time, like, oh, why is it him? I do this, and I'm the one that puts everything together behind the scenes, but he gets more of the credit, even though if he's not the brains behind the operation. But I also remember very vividly whenever we got a chance to split, and I was no longer going to be one of the Hardy Boyz, which was like the adrenaline junkies or the daredevils or the people that do all the extreme stuff, the stuntmen. Once I was going to get away from that, and I had pitched the whole Matt Hardy version 1 concept, and they were willing to go with it and give me some creative input in it. And I felt very good about where I was at. And I was like, I'm going to get a chance to shine on my own. And I know there were a lot of people that thought like, oh, now that they're separated, Matt's going to fade away. And I ended up getting more over than Jeff at that time, especially because Jeff was also in kind of a dark place in his life, and he had to like kind of hit the reset button to kind of get his life back on track too. So back in the day when he first started getting over huge and he became like the big standout star of the Hardy Boyz, I think I was a little bothered about that, but I think it was also a great learning lesson for me, because I have realized in my life there are going to be things that affect you, and you have to understand how to deal with them, to continue moving forward in life. It doesn't mean someone's right or someone's wrong or someone's better or someone's worse. Perception is a thing, and you always have to play to whatever your strengths may be. And I realized that there. I was very happy to work for the greater good, which was the Hardy Boyz succeeding together. If Jeff could go out and do the Swantons and the Whisper in the Winds and whatever crazy house spot he would do, and the people loved it, and it even made him more over in their eyes. But I was the guy that was kind of putting the match structure together and making sure we had a solid fundamental match as well as these amazing house spots. I felt rewarded for being able to do that. And I know it was very important when we were together like the team. And something Jeff said in the first video he did when he just recently got released from WWE, and he said, I am the Whisper in the Wind, I am the Swanton, but without you, there's no poetry in motion. And he kind of said that as an analogy, but he also said, like, we're just so much better together because we help each other so much in so many different ways. We're so much stronger as a unit. And I totally agree with that.
And I said to you when I was pitching this show to you, and I've said it on all the media interviews I've done, that I connected with you because I felt like you were the secret sauce to the Hardy Boyz. I use that analogy a lot. Like I think of Van Halen. I don't know if you're a Van Halen fan, but Michael Anthony, the bassist with the high pitched backup vocals, that's so crucial to the Van Halen sound. And while Eddie Van Halen was the one that people were paying all the money to see, without Michael Anthony in the band, it's just not Van Halen, with all due respect to Wolfgang Van Halen. So I just thought that you and me growing up as a fan, that you were that that secret sauce. And then when you broke out on your own, it became apparent, yeah, he was. So I bring that all up because as we're going to dive into this feud, I feel like you are trying to go out of your way to stand out in this feud. You do some crazy shit in this feud that it's like, I got to match what Jeff is doing. Right. And I'm curious if that was cognizant or not. And I guess we'll find out as we dive through this. Why don't we?